Hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today on women's health, HIV, and aging from the Care and Wellbeing Center. My name is Baby Del Rosario. I'm the project manager of the Care and Wellbeing Center, and we want to welcome you all to our session today. In honor of National Women and Girls HIV and Aging Awareness Day, we have a fantastic panel. I'm excited to share this information with you. So let's go ahead.
Thank you.
And just some Zoom, just a little bit more on the Care and Wellbeing Center. If this is your first time here, I want to say welcome. And to also emphasize that we are going to have an evaluation at the end of this session, just so we have a little bit more information on what you all like, what worked and what didn't work, and also it would really help us to improve our free services. I want to start off with some Zoom housekeeping. Please mute your microphone during the panel discussion, and throughout the session, please drop your questions in the chat. We're going to be answering them later on in the audience Q&A. And these are our learning objectives for the session, and you can take a look at those. And I want to pass it off to our community facilitator, Sylvia Young. She is a Care and Wellbeing Center Community Advisory Board member, and we're so glad to have her facilitate the session today. So passing it over to you, Sylvia.
Thank you, JB. I'm very happy to be facilitating this panel. We will start with, JB, can you help me here with the introduction? Oh, okay, I'll start with the questions. We'll start with Babe's introduction and World Dynamic Determined Divas, the Los Angeles Family AIDS Network, and Christie's Place. Please introduce yourselves. So Babes.
Let me see.
She was on another Zoom, she was on the prep Zoom earlier.
Oh, okay. So let's just start off with World. Yeah.
Who's with World?
Denise, are you here?
Denise, okay. Let's go to the next one, Dynamic Determined Divas.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Shelley.
Hi, Sylvia. What would you like to know? My favorite color?
Yeah, sure.
So we have three.
My name is
here on the side.
On the side. So what is the core services of your program?
Okay. So first, my name is Shelley Stenson. I'm the director of the Project Empowerment, Determined Dynamic Divas. And the core, actually the soul of our program is it's founded in mental and emotional wellness. Because if our state of mind is not well, then we make decisions that are not good for our body, our physical self. So we really focus on improving emotional wellness and getting divas, we call all our participants divas, to empower them with making healthier decisions relative to their mental and emotional health. Okay. We're a small staff. There's the director, myself, and then we have a data coordinator. But we have assumed duties to implement outreach activities and coordinate and facilitate our workshops that help support our goals. So basically, we work on really strong and powerful areas within our emotional wellness, and that's economic empowerment. And we do art therapy to provide stress relief. And we have a podcast series that allows us to have those difficult and challenging conversations in a safe space with other people impacted by those same issues. And so we can learn from each other and become sisters. And the program was designed specifically for Black trans women and Black cisgender women.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Let's go to the next agency, Los Angeles Family AIDS Network. can you give us some of your information on the core services of your program?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Natalie Sanchez. I'm the director for UCLA Los Angeles Family AIDS Network. Our core services are comprised of the medical component, so HIV specialty care for adults, as well as OBGYN, including pediatric care for exposed infants and children living with HIV. Core to our services and our team structure is a case management. So we are a network of providers throughout Los Angeles County. Those consist of case managers, mental health providers, nutritional, registered dietitian to support the needs of women that are living with HIV. And fairly new to us, we're part of the Women Together program, which is funded by AIDS Project Los Angeles. And we've really been focused on social activities to get women to socialize with other women with lived experience and to reduce isolation caused as a result of COVID-19. Thank you.
So can you answer another question here? What is the team structure of your program?
Our team structure is, we're very small at UCLA. So it's comprised of our doctor, case manager, a data and evaluation specialist, as well as provide funding to other organizations. And so we support staffing that includes case managers, mental health providers, and registered dietitian.
Great, great. And in one sentence, can you summarize the values of your program in one sentence?
Our values are really focused around support and acceptance for all. And so that's really aimed at reducing stigma, as well as any health or gender inequalities. So it's really about acceptance. Thank you.
That's very important. Thank you. Let's go next to Christie's place. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Marta Robles, and I'm the Peer Navigation Program Coordinator at Christie's Place. I have been working in here for 13 years now. I'm very proud of that. And we provide a lot of services. So this is a nonprofit organization, and we provide services for women and families living with HIV, and also for the families affected from HIV as well. So we provide mental health support groups, peer navigation. So that means that we do the peer navigation training so we can, create the peers. And we're talking about women living with HIV. We have also case management, education presentations, the social groups, and we do also the Lotus training that is to empower women, and Sylvia knows about that. So we have like so many years doing that job. And finally, I think like 8 years ago, we started doing it in Spanish as well. And also we have a group of promotores de salud, which is health promoters. And this is also women, it could be women or males living with HIV or without. So, yeah.
Great. I'm so happy to hear about the Lotus Project.
We're still here.
Yes, it is. Another question, what is the team structure of your program?
Well, what we kind of, encourage is like to maintain the women that are living with HIV, maintain them stable under care. So, but the main thing for us is like to work as a team together. Let's say that case management has a client or newly diagnosed. So the case manager, mental health, and the peer navigators are together, working together so we can stabilize that client and make sure that she's going to get all the support that she needs. And legal status doesn't matter. So that's even better for us. And we just follow up with them until they are stabilized with all the services they need. Great.
But for example, how many, do you have one case manager? Do you have two peer advocates? How does that work for your staff-wise?
Right now, we have 3 case managers, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 peer navigators. They're bilingual. And we also have 2 peer advocates. And this is like women living with HIV, but they're also like, ladies that are over 60 years old. And we just got them this past year, like to make sure they want to do something with their lives, and they're just enjoying it. So they're kind of doing their internship here with us.
Great, great. So, and in one sentence, can you summarize the values of your program? What is valued at Christie's Place when it comes to your clients? What is the most,
I believe that it's more about the empathy.
Yes.
Empathy and also trust. That's super important for us, because as soon as we get that from the clients, it doesn't matter if they're newly diagnosed or if they're being diagnosed for years, but out of care, out of the loop, then we make sure that we connect with them and make them feel welcome.
Great, great, great. Thank you, Marta. Next, can we introduce Babes? We'll go back to Babes from Seattle.
Save voice messages. To listen to your messages, press 1. First voice message.
Can we please asking the audience members to please mute their microphones?
4:20 p.m. from phone number 7.
Okay, sorry. There we go. We can move on to.
Can we?
I see Denise's I see Denise is on.
Yes. Let's move on to World. Denise, can you give us some information on the core services of World?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
So some of our core services here, World actually was birthed out of being a peer advocacy agency where we were giving psychosocial support to women living with HIV. And that has been the DNA of World since the inception of it from Rebecca. And we are still still working that program out. Let's see, the other things that we're doing now that is new for us is we're now doing prevention. So we do some COVID, COVID testing, we also do PrEP testing, and now we're going to go back again to being a testers for those for HIV. Let's see, what is the team structure of the program? So for World, we do have one case manager. You have myself as the program manager for the peer department. We have different coordinators for other grants that we are operating currently right now, like a SAMHSA grant. We are partnering with CalPEP. And so we have other type of managers in our department.
Great, great. And so you have one case manager, one program, and then how many peer advocates do you have?
So we have actually have 2 case managers, but one of the case managers on the prevention department. So it does not, they have not actually started, but we just hired a new case manager for a grant through SAMHSA. We have 2 peer advocates.
Okay. And in one sentence, can you summarize the values of World's program?
So the value of World's program is somewhat like how Christie Place is that we try to meet a woman where she's at. One of the goals is to support each woman, psychosocial support. Sometimes we have to support them in their doctor's appointments. We also help with housing assistance as far as referrals, along with really embracing that newly infected woman or newly diagnosed woman.
Yes.
And then those that might have been living with the virus for a while, but just now seeking out help.
Great, great. Thank you. We're going to move on to some questions at this time. And I'm going to put out this question, and we'll just, I would think, kind of jump in. not all at one time. We'll just do the best we can here. What has your organization identified as the top needs for women living with HIV? Who wants to go first?
This is Shelley. I can go first,
Okay.
if you don't mind, Sylvia.
No, absolutely.
The number one thing that I have discovered, which is really true for all of us, is for the world to see us as more than our HIV diagnosis. See the person, and then they want to also explore themselves outside of HIV, because they've been focused on the diagnosis for so long, you kind of forget about the whole person here. So the number one thing, and that's what Project Empowerment does, we focus on the entire person. Not saying that their HIV status is not important, but it's not the number one priority, because there are so many other parts of the person that has been impacted by living with this virus that has not been addressed. And you need your whole self to be strong enough to deal with everything that's going on. So HIV, I'd say, sees it in a better case, let's say 15, 20 years ago. So now we feel comfortable focusing on, well, what about the rest of me? So that's the primary thing that we have discovered, and that's what we are addressing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I can go next. So for us, so we have identified that this woman live with very like isolation, and resigned to be alone for the rest of their lives. That's the main thing. And we have I could say like maybe 20% of ladies that are over 50. And that's the main thing that we can identify. So we try to pull them into the agency and offer them all these social groups and get them involved so they can kind of get out of that isolation. So as a peer navigator, also we go to their homes. We do home visits, kind of, start that relationship with them. And so we can, one day just get them out of there. And then they come in and they start participating in the events, trainings, and all that. But that's the most thing that we identified. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments on this question?
Yes, so I think some of the priorities related to health, as someone had mentioned, that HIV is not their only concern. So as they age, there's other issues, health-related conditions such as the diabetes, the hypertension, cancer, that become prominent and the main focus for the women. I also agree with Martha, where we're really focused on providing that emotional support. And I distinguish between mental health because I think we still continue to have some stigma associated with accessing mental health. So it's more what they're seeking and more open to is the emotional support and connecting either with case managers, peer support, or through social activities hosted by the organizations.
Great, great. Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. What are the various needs from different communities that you're serving? Go ahead, anybody can come in. What are the various needs for different communities that you are serving?
Can you expound a little bit on that question? The various communities, do you mean different by ethnicity or
Yeah,
identity?
Identity, yes. Culture,
Culture, okay.
communities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we're serving all women. And there's diversity in that culturally. But we are even though we are supporting the diversity, we are really focused on where we intersect as women, as cisgender women and trans women, because there is a strong intersection there. And the whole point is to come together as sisters. So there's a cultural respect, cultural humility, cultural competency aspect in that intersection, so that we can come together and heal each other and heal ourselves. So our one focus is women. However, we support as we need to based on the diversity. And a lot of that, you know, some basic needs that are in common as well. So like economics and emotional wellness, things of that nature, mental health. Some women are really asking for mental health needs on both sides. So, so I don't have the number of diverse and we are focusing on Black women, and there's a lot of different cultures within the Black culture, like subcultures, yeah. Which, as with every culture, there's diversity. You may look alike, but there's a whole lot of different things happening, and so that is my contribution to that question. Thanks for explaining it to me.
Thank you. Thank you. JB, did you want to say more on this question?
Yeah, so in addition to like among race, ethnicity, also like different socioeconomic needs, like women of different like ability levels, like physical ability, mental ability, like economic opportunity, things like that. So what are the different ways that your programs are serving women of all like women of all experiences?
Yes. So does anybody else want to jump in and answer part of this question from the agencies?
So for our organization, primarily, we serve women and families, but, you know, the various needs being legal, it could be legal services, transportation, childcare, peer navigation, and mental health. Also, I know for the transgender community, it's difficult to get, you know, together. So we offer them a space where they can do their support group. Well, it's different support groups.
Right.
I don't know if that answered that question.
It sounds like you did. It sounds like you did. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention regarding the different needs and based by population. So something that we continue to advocate for and making sure of is culturally competent and linguistic appropriate services. And so for us is making sure that our support groups are also available in Spanish, that when we do in Los Angeles County, we have an annual treatment summit and we do events, and that we're, you know, making sure that there's some aspect of the program that is in Spanish, preferably in Spanish. And then sometimes when it's not presented in Spanish, at least translation is made available. We've also noticed that as, you know, women get older, there's mobility issues related to not being able to walk or, you know, other health conditions. And so making when we have activities, events, or services, that it's wheelchair accessible. Also acknowledging that, you know, it takes a lot longer, you know, so if there is a physical impairment for a client to get to where they're going. And so something that we take into consideration is making sure that our staff, you know, their schedule is, if there's an event or activity, that they're scheduled for at least an hour afterwards to make sure that all of their women get picked up by their transportation and get, you know, sent home. Because what we have seen is if they are waiting for access to public transportation, they're not always timely. And so that requires, you know, that somebody stick around to make sure that that the women are not left alone and that, you know, everybody's getting home safe.
Yes, that's great examples. There's also the thought of, if you're dealing with a woman from, let's say, from Asia or from Africa, and let's say they don't get the English language very well, there are always ways as you're an agency can help a woman go to her medical appointment and find out about the interpreter services at the medical office through the hospital. So that's an example like that you both gave. So thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay. Another question now. What are the different cultural considerations you implemented in your services? Would you like an example? Anybody?
I know for us, we provide support groups in English and Spanish. And we make sure to keep the flyers translated into Spanish, because we have a lot of the, Latinas coming in here. So we have to make sure that we have that in Spanish. And we also have peer navigation program to assist our clients with transportation and translation for medical appointments. So we do that a lot. Yes. And I think that's very helpful for our clients. That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. Natalie?
Yeah, some of the cultural like kind of incorporation we've been able to do over the past couple of years is we've started doing Day of the Dead flower crown making events, which is very Mexican, Latinx. Other things, we had our women's HIV treatment summit this past year, and we incorporated mariachi music. And so trying to bring in those different cultural elements to honor and celebrate the culture. We also work with African-American community from Africa. And so we're also, as we're planning a women wellness summit for this May, we're looking at making sure that the presenters are reflective of the communities being served, that it's very diverse, and that there's also the cultural element. So we're looking at potential dance instructors from the community that can be part of our wellness summit.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Sylvia, so I forgot now, Natalie, you remind me. We also do that, the Dia de los Muertos, well, also with mariachi and some Indians, they come and do that ritual or ritual. And it's very, very nice. Clients, definitely, they love it. But we also do the Black History every year for a whole week, that event. So we include African-American women, and we all participate. We also do the Dia de las Madres, a women's retreat, and, a lot of the trainings that involve them. So
that's great. Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The next question. Anybody else from World or Divas or no? Okay. We'll move on. Women may face multiple layers of stigma from their age, gender, sexuality, HIV status, and more. How does your team identify the different types of stigma among your clients, and how do you address it through your programming?
So I was trying to make sure that I don't answer all the questions, so I don't be a hogger.
But you can, Denise, it's okay.
Okay, so for this particular situation, I think the best practice that we've been doing is first is get to know your client. Take time to get to know each individual client, because stigma might present itself to one individual different than it does to another individual. So don't just assume when you say stigma, like, oh, you already know what she's dealing with, because you don't. And so the first step is to get to hear her, like allow her to talk, maybe ask questions, like open-ended questions that will lead to a more answer. And then when you find out, for me, I think the best practice is when we find out, do not, this is my pet peeve, do not try to tell that person, oh, well, you'll get over it. Don't tell them that. That's one of the models we can't hear. We understand. That's what we say. You know, I might not relate to all, but but here it's like we meet you where you're at. So you might have one lady that has no problem with going to her doctor's office because she's already realized that she's safe in her doctor's office, meaning the coming in, the receptionist, you know, all the things that people don't take in consideration that can be prevent a stigma. Like people look at you when you come in, or people assume that they know how you got infected, like all the different things. And so that person might be totally okay with going to their doctors, but they're not okay with their grandma knowing, because it's gonna be stigma behind it. So just taking time to know, what does stigma look like to her or him? And then when you find out, then you work alongside that client until they say, I got it now. So, and not feeling like you've been here 40 years now. What's the problem? Like, why haven't you got past that? I think that's one of the best practices that I've learned. Exercise here is knowing what does stigma look like to me? Because what CDC says and what the book says might not be what it looks like to me, because I come from a different culture, a different background. I have a whole different set of family and friends. So stigma can really, really, really exhibit itself in different ways. So I think that's the very, very first thing, is asking a client, what things make you afraid? What things, what places are you not comfortable with going?
Mhm.
And we have some clients that don't want to take a photo. Been here 1,000 years. I don't want to be in your photo. That's something that we have to honor. We can't, and we don't hear, be like, oh girl, it's okay, just come on, it'll be all right. No, if that's what she says, then we honor what she's saying. So that's one of the things I like about it here.
Anyone else would like to make a comment?
Yes, so for us, we do a lot of the it's the focus groups. So that's where we provide that space for them to talk about how they feel, what they need. And that's very actually supportive for us, because we are able to see or let them express the way they feel. That's how we find out about stigma, different kind of stigma, type of stigma. And so many of them, they're not open with their status here. So in the support groups, you know, we have been able to recognize the different types of stigma that imbibe them. Like their relatives don't know about their status. You know, they feel that they're ashamed to talk about it. And also they think they will never have a partner again or even have children. So the organization, we offer them mental health, first of all, right? But yes, being a peer living with HIV for 22 years, that's one of the main things that we do always. Like we talk about our story, our experience, and that makes a big difference. You know, as soon as they find out we're positive, it's like they look at you and they're like, wow, you look like you don't have it. And I'm like, well, yeah, thank God, but I do, right? And that makes a big difference. That's where we start working on the relationship for the trust, and they feel like comfortable with this environment. And also the house, it's a house. We don't have like, it's not a clinic or nothing. You come in and it's only a house. So they're allowed to come to the kitchen. So we try to make them feel comfortable so they can feel that, you know, it's okay. I mean, you're positive, but doesn't mean that you're different or you're not going to be able to be happy in your life. We also invite them like to be part of the empowerment trainings, like the Lotus training, which is a big training that really talk about not only being okay with your status, but also like educate yourself so you can start educating other women that are, you know, with HIV. And the women's retreat, that one also makes a big difference. We just go for a weekend and we don't talk about HIV at all. So we go to Julian, you know, it's a retreat over there, and it's amazing how those 3 days they are able to be open, you know, just enjoy the whole event and just be by themselves, and they can just go swimming, they can just go walking, they can do whatever they want. And I think that makes a big difference. When they come back, they're like, you know what, Marta, this is all I needed. And that makes a change in their life. So they start talking more about, so you saying that I can't have another partner? I say, yeah, I just got married, so you can.
Oh,
You know, things like that. And I think that's very helpful for them. Thank you, Sylvia.
thank you, Marta. That's great. Anybody else? Okay, and also,
I had my hand up, but I don't know if you can.
Oh, I'm
see it.
sorry.
No worries, Sylvia. One of the things I wanted to also say that as an agency, one of the things that we really, since I've been here, working here, that I adore is that we, as an agency, model what it is that we say we want to do to our peers, to our peer department. And what do I mean by that? Is that as an agency, we don't assume that our staff wants everybody to know their personal business either. And so I think that's one of the most important things that I love about World is that you're not hired and you have to go and tell everybody, hey, welcome, this is my diagnose. Hey, nice to meet you, this is my diagnose. And what we do is we model it between each other. So when clients see us model it between each other, they know that they're really safe. Because if you tell me that I'm safe and I can drop this with you, and then I hear two staff members, employees outing each other's status, then if y'all can't trust each other, why would I want to be at this agency? So that's one of the things that I really like here on our team. We don't demand anybody at any time. And Sylvia at one point was my supervisor. That was the number one thing that she told me when I got hired. Like, we don't have to go around making announcements. That's your story, your choice, your timing. If you never choose to say it, that's your story, your timing. And for me, watching that practice here, it helped me be more sensitive to when clients would say, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And even to the point to where if another staff wants to ask you about another staff, the same model that we have for our peers is the same we have between staff. And that is, I don't know, you got to ask her. I have no idea. And so what does that do? That helps us to exhibit what it looks like when we say we truly understand the impact of stigma. Now, some people will say like, well, you get better when you tell your story. That might be your truth. But that doesn't mean to that individual that them telling everybody will be better for them. We have some clients who culturally, their families will never, ever accept them being HIV positive or anything outside of heterosexual. Like, it's never going to happen. It's that family will never accept it. So for them, it's safe to just keep it within a safe community. So I just wanted to put that out there, that that's one of the things that I like about World. There's still safety and statuses around here.
Thank you, Denise. Natalie, anybody else want to say anything on this? I will say one thing, that one thing that helps with the clients when they first come in is to let them know there's confidentiality. Confidentiality is very important. The other thing is that you're not alone. You're not alone. And look, I'm positive and you can live and get married like Marta was saying. Okay, how to put my little 2 cents in.
Yeah, I did want to, just contribute as far as around confidentiality. I know usually like for programs and funders, they want to see results. They want to see, evidence of, a successful event. But we're very respectful to not take photos because as we're inviting the women into a safe space and concerns around confidentiality, concerns around disclosure, we really respect that it's up to the individual on where they're at with disclosing. So as an agency, we don't take photos of any of the participants. We also don't have any signage, especially if it's outside of our agency, anything that says HIV. We also don't try to make it the main topic all the time because really it's just how do women connect with other women? And sometimes that barrier is having, talking about HIV. So for us, it's just being very conscious of the kind of this holistic approach and, creating environments of safety, confidentiality, and not, again, making the focus always HIV.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. Anybody else? Great. So there's question here that I have with questions inside of them. So I will attempt to do my best to work with these and with you. Women are often responsible for caretaking, childcare, and supporting families. One question, what are competing priorities do you see in your clients?
I'll go right quick. So the majority of our clients, Sylvia, are 40 and older. We don't have that many young clients with children. We have a few. But what I have learned is the majority of our women are trying to manage grandchildren now and partners. And they are so consumed with their partners and their grandchildren and now the adult children. And so there's this cycle of presenting those three people and leaving their self behind. So you start hearing a lot of, oh yeah, I got to do this for my grandkid. Oh yeah, my boyfriend is over here and man, I got to do this. And oh yeah, my kids is in jail and oh my God. So we hear everyone else at this age group that we're helping are now only talking about those individuals and not their self. So it's really a challenge because it's like a double-edged sword because you can't tell the client that their husband and their kids and their grandchildren don't matter. You can't say that. That'll be so like insensitive to be like, oh, well, that don't matter. But then at the same token, you have to know how to pretty much massage the conversation to still understand what they're saying and gently try to pull them into the equation. Because a lot of them feel, I have found some feel guilty when you start trying to usher them into the conversation. They feel like I have to do this for them. Like there's nobody else going to take care of my kids. Nobody else is going to help my mom. Nobody else is going to get this. And so we have to be careful how we, like the analogy that I'm thinking of right now, Sylvia, is if you were a doctor and your patient had cancer, you're not going to just cut the patient wide open because you understand the air will make it spread. So a wise surgeon would cut cut it open and protect everything else, if that makes sense. So that's one of the things that we try to do, is like still leave the partner, still leave the child, still leave the grandchild. But how do we help this woman to see her self-worth and her self-value, that she can understand that taking one day out of a week for yourself is okay? That's the challenge. That is the biggest challenge. And if they're already living in poverty, it's survival every day. Our women are living in survival every single day. And you think about it, that is another level of PTSD, because if you're always in a war zone in your mind, if you're always in a war zone in your emotions, if every day is a fight to eat, that is a lot. And so a real mom or woman in this agency will always say, just take care of my kids, I'll be fine. Oh, no, that's fine, we can do this. So it's a challenge on for us to always have to keep that in the forefront of our mind, that when this woman comes, she's not just bringing HIV. She's bringing her grandchild that does not have HIV. She's bringing her partner who probably don't have HIV. And she's bringing her friends that don't have HIV. And so to say to her, lay all these people to the side and let's see how we can best help you. You have to be skillful, because that woman can feel that you're insensitive to what she's saying. And now I don't want to come back to your agency. Because why? You're not hearing me. You know, as they say, oh, you're listening, but you're not hearing me. And so that's one of the things that I think, Sylvia, is a challenge for us, that we have older women now that have transitioned and they're still not at the forefront. So I guess for us, that's the benefit for world, that we have partnerships such as Children's Hospital, where Shelley has it, where that 1 hour of time, that woman is a real diva, not a cliche, you know, not just like, oh yeah, you're a diva, but it's really like jewelry making, laughing, having fun. And that matters, because when that woman leaves that space, everything comes back. The grandkids come back, the husband come back, the bills come back, still hungry. But that one moment to bring her own self by herself. And so I think that's kind of a plug, that if somehow, if we could tell our funders, like, this is so needed, that we can have places will fund for women and men to be able to have at least one day out of a week where they don't have to be the grandma, they don't have to be the wife, they ain't got to be the sister, they don't have to be the auntie. And all they have to do is just laugh, have fun, and then we can go back to the hustle and bustle. So that's just my spin on that, Sylvia.
Thank you, Denise. You said it all right there.
Right, well, I had to follow up with that because she mentioned me, right?
Yes, Shelley. Yes, Shelley.
And I appreciate the plug, Denise. It's very sweet. And Sylvia, you've experienced some of our workshops. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And I hope that you can forget about all that's waiting for you at that front door, because that is the largest challenge for our women, is not hearing them talk about what they need. They're always meeting the needs of, like I said, the kids, the grandchildren, the grown kids, sometimes parents. And I don't know how women fell into this whole caretaker position, probably because that's why we are divas, because we can do it. Because I don't want a male bash, but to put a man in charge, I'm saying there won't be too many that can give birth and raise kids. Look at Natalie's face. too many, except for the male seahorse who can do it all. But still, it's like we take on so much and have this, we as women and the
Yeah.
women that we serve, we take on all these things. And it's like, when did we sign up for any of this? Like, for example, you hear you got Disneyland, it's telling stories like you're gonna grow up and have a Prince Charming and live happily ever after. And it's like, okay, well, what if I don't want a Prince Charming? What if I want a princess? What if my happily ever after looks different than what you're pushing, in my face? It's like, what about me as a person? And it seems like we were defined as women, even from Disney, those Cinderellas. And I did kind of dig Snow White because she did live with like a bunch of men, but that's that's a whole nother conversation. You know what I mean? So it just seems like we have been defined by male culture as to what our role is. But I understand when you have children that you can't really just cut them off. But what we can do is empower them to survive even without us, and that we were individuals before children, and we can continue to be individuals, that we still remain important. And I work to communicate that message to our divas. Yes, you have all this to do, but you still matter. You still count. You count first. I found this very uncomfortable to accept that. Take care of yourself first. There's going to be plenty left over for everybody else. And so thanks, Denise. And we share that. That is a commonality. That's a barrier. I call it barrier. It is a barrier that we are constantly tearing down, like the Berlin Wall, but we're going to get through. We're getting through. So thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to add, again, as the caregivers, the women, there's so much guilt associated with them doing anything outside of the house or anything without their partner, without their children or grandchildren. And we found that interesting as we, embarked on this Women Together and hosting a variety of events. So we, get tickets to go to musicals, to the movie theater, and pretty much we worked with our advisory board to identify the different type of activities. What we didn't factor in, it was all the guilt that the women were going to experience, and how that became a real barrier for them registering or actually going to the events. And so we've had to work on an individual basis with the women. And we also had to alter our approach, that we couldn't, as an organization, do women only events 100% of the time, that we had to adapt and identify. Sometimes they want some family events. Sometimes they want some events where they can bring, a friend or a significant other. So we've been more flexible with that, because before, and again, a lot of our funding is like, no, the money is only specific to the women with HIV. But the way that you engage women, especially Latinx and Black women, is by addressing the needs of the family. And so that's really a cultural element. And I think that doesn't necessarily, our funders, HRSA, CDC don't really have that cultural approach. And those are the adaptations that we as programs have to incorporate in order for us to be successful in working with our clients.
Marta, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with everything that Denise mentioned. And I know for us, it's the same struggles, but we try to follow up with these clients the most we can. And so what we can offer them is like therapy for as a couple. So if they're like struggling with their partner, because like we mentioned it before, there's sometimes that their partner are not positive. So there's an issue, right? So we provide that service, and they just come and we try to help them. And also, there's for the kids, you know, there's a Camp Laurel. It's one thing that they do every year in February, where they take the families, which is the mother with their kids, to the mountains, and they enjoy it. There's some snowing and everything, so that happens every year. But I cannot remember the name of this other camp that they do only for kids, and they take them in how do you say, avioneta, like small airplane. They fly to that place, and this is only for the kids. You know, with their mother's authorization, they take them, so they have like also a weekend by themselves. So we provide those, you know, those resources for them, so they can feel like they were saying, like 1 day, 2 days, you know, by themselves. And so like I said before, also, like, we try to pull them out of, you know, their homes on that weekend for the women's retreat. And this past Saturday we had our women's conference, and it was very nice, by the way. And we provide like childcare, so they can come and enjoy. And another thing that we do every year is the fashion show. So we include the women, you know, whoever wants to participate, and we just bought them some dresses. We bring people, other clients that come and do makeup and all that. And they're like, you know, so when we announced the new models for this conference 2023, they get very emotional, you know, and they were using these words in front of their dresses, where one of them was like this, Miss Strong, Miss Bless, you know, and it's very I don't know, very motivated for them. And that's some of the things that we do to support them. But yeah, they always come and, no, my son is like, you know, he's in jail. I need to put some money. I don't have money. It's like, it's okay. You do what you need to do, but yes, don't forget that, you know, it's for your health, and take care of you and all that stuff. But I totally agree. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm reading something here. I'm sorry. I have to check something here.
No, it's okay. So I just wanted to expand on what was said earlier. Because I remember Natalie, you said that your program really helps undo the shame of women taking care of themselves. So I just really want to ask, like what are some other strengths that your program develops in women? And this is for the whole panel as well. Like, what are the different strengths that women get from managing these like different priorities, and how does your program help build those?
Well, I think it's teaching them independence and self-confidence. So as they're able to do things outside the home on their own, that they develop social skills, right? And working and connecting with other women in a way that we help them develop those social skills. You know, I think sometimes we think, oh, it's the forum, like, oh, we got to put them on a panel to present, to talk about, you know, their lived experience. But for us, it's the simplistic, you know, you invite them in, you have some type of activity. So we do like a paint the night, or, you know, other types of art related events. And rather than feeling like all the attention is on them, they're focusing on an activity. And then there's a natural conversation that happens where, one, they're not as concerned or as anxious thinking about what they're going to say. And it just kind of unravels that natural conversation. So we really try to foster activities that allow for women to do those kind of, you know, just socialize with other women. What is, I think it was Denise that you mentioned jewelry making. I took a note and I was like, oh, that's an activity, another great activity that we would like to incorporate here in Los Angeles. But, you know, and again, it helps build the self-confidence. It helps them to get outside the home, get familiar with other areas in Los Angeles County. So I know that can be intimidating for women if they don't know where they're going, they've never been there before. And knowing that they can explore these areas knowing that our staff members, our case manager is going to be there to really just address any concerns and ease any anxiety associated with getting outside of their home.
Thank you. I just want to say also, we have to look at our clients as coming from a trauma. I mean, this is like, nobody else knows what it's like to get an HIV diagnosis. It's traumatizing. You think you're going to die. So how do I get out of this? So as Shelley was saying, with the art classes she's providing through the Diva Project Empowerment, it really helps bring women out of isolation to think in another way. And how do you get the younger women or younger men to come in this circle of not being stuck? That's another thing for younger populations. I feel as an older woman myself, I can do that, but I've had to work on that to get out there. And I'm part of Shelley's group. And I will tell you, it is totally amazing for me. I don't have to be there like for the partner at home. So that's my little gist there. Thank you. The next question. How are you building support for your clients in the face of these competing priorities? Some of those, so this question has been answered in different ways. You're providing the art classes, the socialization. And it can be hard sometimes for clients to maneuver this, to get out there and say, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm like this little baby. And what does the agency provide for women or men who are new in this world of living with the virus?
Well, World actually has one new person that was newly diagnosed, or two. And again, it goes back to allowing that person to tell you what they want, not assuming as an agency you have the answer for that person. Even though we might have the fundamentals, the Lotus program, we have, the trauma program, we have how to trainings on, asking open-ended questions. We have all that as the person on the other side of the desk. But that woman on the opposite side of the desk, that don't mean nothing to her right now. She don't care about your opening. She don't care what training you took. She doesn't care about any of that. I think the best practice is two things, well, maybe three. One, find out what community she came from. That's the first step. You have to find out what community she came from, meaning what is her neighborhood like? What are her friends like? What is her family like? So now when you try to get to take time to know those elements, now you'll know how to navigate with that client. And here we try to not just meet them where they're at, meaning in conversation, but meet them where they're at in their personality. So if I'm from the hood, I don't need you using all these big language and all these big dialogues. Like, that doesn't work for me. I need you to understand that Ray Ray and Pookie are my two best friends, and they think that HIV is that motherfucking disease. Oh man, she got that shit. I need you to understand that's what I hear. So when you understand that's what I hear, now you'll know how to help me navigate. And I that was for the woman who lived on the hill and all her needs are met. She's never had to apply for food stamps. She's never had to get EBT. She's never had to be told that, you know, you're nasty, you're dirty. So we have to think about, who are we talking to at that time? Like, who are we talking to? And when we realize who we're talking to, then we can support her. But that takes time. That is not going to happen on that first meeting. It is not. And then you have to be comfortable with her being her. If she literally, we have a client that she lives in the deep east of East Oakland. All she knows is fighting and cussing and loud music. That's all she knows. That's all she's ever known. So it was frustrating at first, because when I first got her, it was like, I need to get her together. I need to straighten her out. I need to help her. And the relationship became like two magnets opposite. It didn't click. And then it dawned on me, I don't have to lower my professional standards. I don't have to lower who I am, but I need to understand what she does every day and how she is surviving every day. So this personality that she has, she needs it to survive in her neighborhood. So if this is what she's been doing for 40, 50 years, to not get raped, not get mugged, not get on every single day in her neighborhood, I cannot expect when she doing, well, good morning. Who they presented was needed to get to my office. And so she might have to stay that person when she go back out, because mind you, she only has 30 minutes with me. And she got to go back to a real lifetime of everything. So I think the best thing is know your client individually. Know your client individually so that we can service them the best way for them. Some clients, they work every day. They have degrees just like we do. They just happen to have a diagnosis. So when you understand this is a client that got a PhD just like you. So now you know, like, okay, I can relate to her differently. Now she will understand all the dictionary words. So you have to know, it's like a waltz. You got to know when to move, how to dance, when to twirl. And that's what I've learned that works best in this office for the clients that we see on a day-to-day basis. No woman, no matter her color, no matter her diagnosis, every woman is unique. If her fingerprint is different, so is she. And that's what I have to keep telling myself. We don't all have the same fingerprint. And just because I might have lived in deep East Oakland does not mean that I am always going to be ratchet. You can't. So you have to still know that you might have somebody live in the hood, but that does not mean that her mindset is going to be the same as the woman who came in cussing, hollering, and acting. So just knowing how to engage individually.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to move on to the well-being priorities among your clients. For example, for women who are lived in, excuse me, let me try this again. For women with lived experience, what has been the service most helpful in your life at your current age? Let's say for women who have been living with HIV for a while, what service has helped them the most? Now that they've maybe 10, 15, 20 years of living with HIV, what service is best for them out of your agency? They're older.
I know for our community, what is more helpful is, like programs, like cars, and then the Ryan White ADA program and mental health, transportation, childcare, that's very, very needed. And yeah, and just being there for them, making sure that they have somebody they can trust, like Denise was saying. Yeah, having a peer on the side, it's very, very helpful. They don't feel alone anymore.
But let's also look at women who are living with who are with their partner, but have been living with HIV for a long time. And what can we provide to them? What we have to kind of think outside of that they just walked in the door. They've been walking through this door for the last 20 years. So what do they need now? What can I give them?
Well, one of the things that we do, like I said earlier, it's the home visits. And also we provide emergency food for them. Sometimes they don't have enough money, so we provide that. Okay. Hygiene products, because they don't have enough money. And but it's more like that call, right? That call, or we offer like mental health. It could be virtually or just a phone call. They can come in person, but if they're like escalated, that's very helpful. You're just talking to a therapist, or us following up like every other week.
Right.
How are you doing? Need. When they have more appointments, and we just kind of work it out, make a plan, and work for them. We offer the lift. For some of those ladies, it's hard to walk. They have other issues, and so we offer the lift. So they take them to a medical appointment, and we send them back to their home. But the thing is that you're sending the lift. We don't have enough funds, so we kind of we transport them and then we send the lift. But we need more support in that area. But yeah, those are some of the things that we do.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? And even if it's just a phone call and saying once a week, I'm going to call you every week. Is that okay? And just to hear her voice, just so she hears your voice and know that she's not alone after living with this disease for 20 years, or every 2 weeks calling, that's always helpful to get her out of her head. Maybe if she's thinking alone, that's always helpful. Thank you. Welcome. We have a new person. Can you tell me your name? And what agency are you from?
D, you're still muted. You can unmute.
Hi, my name is D Carey, and I'm with the YWCA Babes Network.
Okay.
We serve women, supporting women with HIV in Seattle, King, Snohomish County.
Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you.
We're going to continue with the next question. How does your program support concerns such as cancer, such as menopause, cancer screening, substance use, IPV, mental health? IPV, I presume it's
IPV is
Intimate partner violence.
right.
Yeah.
I knew it was that, but I couldn't think of the right words. Thank you very much.
So domestic.
Yes, domestic violence. How does your program support these concerns?
I can, it's within our, and this is Shelley, this is within our project empowerment program, is that if we definitely have resources if someone presents themselves to us that they need help with an IPV situation. But we definitely have a no tolerance rule for anyone currently involved in an IPV situation to attend our meetings and groups, especially in person, because we have to protect all the women who we've told they are in a safe space and protected space. And I need to protect my staff, and I need to follow the rules of the location. So the venue where we have in-person meetings. And the one thing I will not tolerate is someone endangering the divas that we're working with at all. I may, we may have to lose one, but I will support that person with resources at the point whenever they're ready to change their situation. They have the support to do so. But having lived in experience with IPV directly and indirectly, we know it's a cycle that may not change for better as far as improve, or it may go in the direction that IPV, typically goes to, and that's where one partner does not survive the situation, sometimes both. I can't have that. I don't tolerate that within our circle of services, if you will. And so, I had to lose a couple of good divas that they're screaming out that they're ready for this kind of support. However, they're not really ready yet. And they need a certain intervention prior to coming to our program. They're just not ready. And that's just the reality of it.
Thank you, Shelley. Anybody else?
So for us, so some of the peers, including myself, we are recovery addicts. So, we have that bad experience for many years, and thank God we're fine now. So we can identify when, clients are like under the influence, but we're not going to try to change their lives, right? All we can do is just accompany them to an NA meeting if they want to, or just give them the resources so they can attend those NA meetings, even offer them some phone numbers for, sponsors that they can help them. But we also have, also want to mention that, us, it's like, we are older than 40. So I'm 56. So talking about menopause and all those things. But we also have 3 therapists available here at the agency, and they can do it in person. They can do it by the phone or virtually. And we also have like others or several groups, like we have the afternoon tea, and that's for older women that they can kind of request information regarding the aging or menopause, or even one of the peers went through, cancer process. And so there's information, and all we can do is kind of make some referrals. And we also have Mesa Redonda, which they do it I think they do it twice in a month. And this is educational. So they bring like doctors, they bring a lot of presentations talking about not only HIV, but other diseases. So we always have our community informed. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Marta. Anybody else would like to chime in here? If I can just say, when I was working at World, there was always referrals. Referring to, well, I'll speak on the domestic violence piece. Refer to a safe house. You can go here, taking the client to the safe house. Well, dropping her off where they would take her to the safe house. Also for mental health, referrals to here in Oakland, there's Casa del Sol in the Fruitvale district for women who don't speak English for mental health support. So it's always refer. Anybody else want to come in on this piece? Okay, then. We'll now open for questions from the audience. JB?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So yeah, we have a bit of time to open the questions to the audience. So if you have any specific questions for any of our panelists or questions that you want to pose to the group in general, please unmute yourself, put on video, and feel free to pose the questions. Or raise your Zoom hand. Then.
Hi, my name's Ebony. I have a question.
Yeah.
I work with the San Francisco AIDS Foundation with a program called Hughes, Healing and Uniting Every Sister. And so this program is meant to be intergenerational, so bringing women of all different ages, backgrounds, or Black women of all ages together to engage in conversations around the issues that we deal with as Black women. And so I was wondering if either of you had any advice or direction in best ways to engage older women and younger women without it being I don't know, disrespectful in a way, because I know young people have different experiences than older women. So just a healthy, non-disrespectful way to engage intergenerationally.
Yeah, got it. So I feel like for Shelley or Denise, if you want to, or Dee, if you want to take that question as well.
I'm processing her question. Hi, Ebony.
Hey, Miss Shelley.
If I understand what you're saying, even though we work with a unique set of women, age-wise, let's just say age-wise, and they seem to be pretty, I have to say this, they seem to be pretty connected to generations younger than them, especially if they have grandchildren. They can pretty much communicate with them. I do find the influence of a younger generation on the older generation a very positive aspect, especially when it comes to electronics and things of that nature, that other language. And I feel with that type of back and flow, the things that we do for our women will impact the other, and let me know if I'm going in the right direction, but other generations, younger generations, in a very positive way, because when that person changes, things change. Am I on the right track with you, Ebony, in your question?
Yeah, just wondering how to bring them both together without, I don't know, ostracizing the different age ranges. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying, but just kind of like a good way to engage people of all ages in the same space. And I understand like we can do different kind of programming with each separate group, but I really want there to be kind of like a mentorship situation in the intergenerational space. Does it make sense?
It makes sense. And I think it comes when you first, my first thoughts when I was creating this program was, we got to address the unique needs of the individual. So like individuals. So segregate first, address those needs, and then integrate. And then you build that kind of collaborative healing circle, if you will. Because if something doesn't matter to me, and I'm in let's say I'm in a support group, and it matters to most everyone else, I'm checking out mentally, because well, that has nothing to do with me. I have no input to give, and I don't feel supported. But if I'm in a group of women, we all pretty much have the same issues, like culturally, spiritually, and they're being addressed in that manner, in that fashion, and we heal in that particular space. And then we're ready to meet where we integrate with another group of people. We meet in our integrated space, and then we start to learn about each other because we're together, ready to be together and ready to vibe together and see how we can work together and then grow that way. When I first introduced my segregated approach, for some reason we get offended and say, well, what about, it's like everyone's important, right down to their individuality and their uniqueness. We've got to speak to them using Denise's word, meet folks where they are and see what's going on and build from there. And so that's my response to what you're saying. I think, yes, it can happen. How it can happen, I gave you that, even though you didn't ask me how so much. But I think the best approach is just being closer to providing the most support to the individual or individuals, and then grow from there. But I'm in a segregated space first.
Yeah, something
Thank
that
you.
has worked for us at Los Angeles Family AIDS Network is our brunches through the Women Together program, because it's very open to any age. So we get, our younger women newly diagnosed in their 20s. We work with Children's Hospital Los Angeles, and we also get young women who are newly diagnosed. And then we have our women who have been long-term survivors living with HIV. So I think it's just those type of events that are interesting to any woman. And so the brunches at the different restaurants, usually, again, we try to get like a private space. The food is good. They show up, and then it's just, again, the natural conversation that kind of emerges, and whatever the individual is willing to share, whatever conversation is all directed by the women themselves. So there's not really any programming during this brunch, because if we were to say, oh, it's a brunch and it's sponsored by a pharmaceutical company and you have to sit for a whole hour to hear about this new medication, that's not very attractive to our younger population. So anything that has to do with formal programming related to HIV specific, we find that our newly diagnosed or our young women just won't show up.
That's helpful. Thank you.
I was going to add, young lady, that we here at Babes we take on women who are younger, but we don't have many women who are younger. But food seems to be something that the women we do have are united around. A nice meal, something like that, because we do dinners every now and then. It's not something we do on a routine basis, but we do them. And we find that the women who come bring their ideas and bring their stories, and they're really nice to listen to and talk to. So I think it would be behooving to you to maybe find a way to have a potluck dinner every now and then, because we have a harvest dinner that's really popular with the babes. As we call our ladies the babes.
Thanks, Ms. D.
That's
You're
cute.
welcome.
If I can say one thing, doing retreats from a world perspective, it brought all women together, young, older, life experience with HIV, from different parts of the world. We had women come from Mozambique, we had Latinas, Black women, and it was such a powerful community for 2 or 3 days that came, and we all embraced each other. It was fabulous, and that worked. And it would follow through a little bit, but you know what? We have to keep in mind that nowadays, I've been living with this for going on 28 years, that I was scared when I first got diagnosed. There was no medicine. Now, I don't know, I don't want to speak for a young person, but you got to look at the mentality. Oh, I have this. Okay, I'm going to live with it. I know I can live longer because there's more medication. I don't know if I want to go there. I don't know if I want to go there and be amongst older people, I'll say, or I'll put wiser people. But we have to keep that in mind, to keep yeah, to keep that thought. That's my gist.
Thank you, Ms. Sylvia.
You're welcome. Anybody else want to continue on this? JB?
If there, are there any other thoughts for Ebony's question?
No, I just want to add to that one that we do also a walking group. So, you know, they invite everybody. So, and because we provide shelter, that's very helpful for them. So they are allowed to go.
Oh, that's
And
great.
we don't have many younger girls, but we do. Actually, we just got one last week. And she was able to participate in the women's conference. And because we got childcare, she was able to enjoy, and you know, she was crying, but there was the peers like supporting her. We got a therapist that was able to also talk to her. So, and she was just very excited about it. You know, I'm not the only one. I remember the first time I went to a women's retreat, I thought I was the only woman living with HIV. And by that time I was like 30 something. And when I saw this bunch of ladies, like 40, 45, I was like so impressed. That made me feel safe, made me feel happy. And, you know, I'm not the only one. So I have to kind of start walking with this group. And that was my experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martha.
I just want to add, I would say intergenerational programming is definitely the way to go, Ebony. I think once you restrict it by age groups, it makes it even harder. And it's really the value of the lived experience of the people in the room that, you know, are going to be most helpful to the younger population, to the younger group of women. And so I think, again, I really just would say, like, you're taking the right approach. And I would, you know, again, our approach is to include, you know, women of all ages, of different generations. And it's been very effective for us.
Thanks, Ms. Natalie.
Okay, perfect. There is one question in the chat from Alejandra. Is it for all DV clients or for some after doing a lethality assessment? Alejandra, do you mind expanding on that question a little bit more?
Thank you. I apologize for not turning on my video. My connection is bad if I turn it on. I'm on my cell phone. But yeah, the question was in regards to when one of the panelists was explaining about the zero tolerance for survivors of domestic violence.
Do you need more that, Shelley?
I'm sorry. Yes. I kind of tipped away and tipped back. What'd you say?
Alejandra, is it Alejandra?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Ale.
Go ahead.
Hi.
So the
What
question
Yeah.
was, is the zero tolerance policy for all DV clients or for some after doing a lethality assessment?
Sure, certainly it's a case by case, but mostly it's for those who are actively involved in an intimate partner violence situation. So living there, getting rides to our location or following the person, that very active like that. Have not had too many. So it is definitely a case by case, but this one is like the red zone for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
that's what I meant. You're so welcome. I wasn't trying to just get rid of women, throw them away, but you know, it's all subjective, honestly.
Yeah. Thank you. And the safety of all clients is very important.
Yes, absolutely. And that's my responsibility. And I've got to do everything. I cannot be in my feelings about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, Rob, you have your hand up.
Hi, thank you. This has been really inspiring and educational to listen to. One of the panelists at the beginning of our meeting today mentioned that you were expanding to HIV prevention and testing and to PrEP services. I work on the PrEP side of things, And we have not been doing a very good job of reaching women, especially non-white women, who can benefit from taking PrEP during some times of their life. I'm not somebody who believes that we should throw PrEP at everybody or that we should talk people into PrEP. But if somebody thinks PrEP is right for them, for their HIV prevention, I think that we have to figure out ways to improve our access. So I'm wondering if the person or anybody in the room has the magic words or the magic solution to reaching more women, especially non-white women, for PrEP.
I'll check in with
Hi,
Denise.
that was me.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And that was me. I'm multitasking. I'm driving because we have a group in 20 minutes. So I'm trying to do two things at one time.
Go ahead.
But as far as the PrEP goes, PrEP, can you hear me,
Yes, yes.
Sylvia? Oh, you can
Yeah.
hear me. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
So PrEP. Okay, so PrEP within itself, no matter the gender, is still hard. It's still a hard it's really hard to get people to want to get on PrEP culture, and the people that you're trying to get people to sign up for PrEP. Most people of color are not really comfortable with PrEP because of past histories on things that have happened as far, you know, what's in it, you know, what's the plan, what they're trying to do to us. So it's just hard all the way around. It's hard all the way around.
You were saying it's
I am not in the PrEP department at my
go ahead.
say that again, Sylvia.
Would you say it's
Can
the
you hear me?
medical, it's a trusting of the medical?
It's mistrust in the medical arena, and the concept on what PrEP is for. What I have learned and what I've heard is that a lot of times people feel they don't need it because they're not going to get caught. Majority of the women are in relationships and they feel that they're in a mutual relationship, so they're safe. And so that's the real big challenge, is helping women to understand or get the concept that no one is safe. No one is safe. And that it goes back again to helping women to know that it's okay to take care of themselves. A lot of the women think about the partner. What are they going to think if they see me taking it? How are they going to feel? What do you think I'm going to be saying about them? So I don't have an all-around answer for it. But I can just say that based upon the reviews and the information that I have received back, it's mistrust. I'm safe. And isn't PrEP for people that are gay? I'm not gay. Why are you offering this, ma'am? I don't understand. So those are the questions that we get.
You bring up
Those are the
really
responses that we get.
Oh,
Which I think it goes into the new diagnosis. Is the majority of the new diagnosed cisgender women do not know about PrEP, didn't know about PrEP.
Yeah, PrEP is not.
Interesting point about
Okay.
how hard it can be to have a conversation with people in relationships and not introduce the aspect of distrust of your partner, but also try to talk about taking care of yourself.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that PrEP from my side, and when I say from my services side and the women that and the divas that I support, honestly, cisgender women then feel, from what I feedback, that PrEP is not designed for them, and not designed for Black people, period, because we really don't see us in the commercials. But it's definitely communicating to all women, trans, cis, other identities, that Black men who have sex with men are the primary focus relative to PrEP. Like, that's who they're talking to. They're not talking to us. And I have communicated this to the state and also to the public health department, because we had HIV prevention conversations, and people living with HIV with partners who are not living with HIV, and why the uptake, the big question is, why are we not open to PrEP? And there's that, and then there's also the medical mistrust. I mean, just look our cultural history with physicians and primary care. So how do you really have that conversation when all of those biases exist, regardless of what we say? Because we can say one thing, and then what's being communicated socially, like over media, is contrary to what we're saying. And if we sound a lot like social media, then, you know, why trust what we say either? You know what I mean? The one thing that I do communicate to our divas, using my phone, is look up everything. When you go to the doctor, take notes. You can bring in a notepad and a pen. You can take notes, write down stuff, ask a million questions, and also look up the information as well, whether it be, you know, you got the internet, we got Google, there's information everywhere, there's books. It's like, be your own doctor as well, and have those informed conversations with your provider, so you don't feel so powerless and can make really, really well decisions for yourself. So I just throw that in. But Robert, you mentioned a conversation about talking to couples about PrEP, if I heard you right, because there was a lot of chit chat going on.
Yeah, and it's just it's complicated to have a conversation with anybody, not just cisgender women, for instance, who is in a relationship and they believe
Right.
it's an exclusive relationship, and you don't want to introduce the element of distrust and, you know, the fact that they might be at risk. But on the other hand, we want to talk about empowering all people and women to take care of their own sexual health also.
You know, yes, absolutely, I agree. And I believe that starts with us and incorporating certain elements when we're having conversations about how to have a healthy relationship. The elements of a healthy relationship, and, you know, under communication, there's the active listening and things of that nature. But also what it looks like is we are uniquely ourselves when we enter into a relationship, and we don't need to lose any part of ourselves, especially taking care of ourselves, just to be with another person. So you learn very early on, is this person just as serious about their physical health? Are they as I am? And if not, then what does that mean for me? I see you, JB. Sorry, go ahead, JB.
I know, I just wanted to give you props for that.
Oh, thank you. I thought you had like a question. Yeah. So, and we just changed the belief system and the conversation, because, you know, when I enter a relationship that's monogamous and I'm supposed to care about this person, I definitely demand to gain from it, not lose from it. And yes, trust is a huge factor for a lot of us. But I trust myself the most. And I trust that I'm going to treat that other person as much as I trust myself. But you got to ask certain questions. You got to be that detective, because there are folks that are deceiving and manipulative and in it for different reasons. So don't compromise yourself for anybody. Nobody. Nobody. And if they get mad and want to walk away, thank them. Say thank you, and, you know, have a nice life. I'm going to keep moving. But with abandonment issues rampant, in our community, and rejection not being being something that's received as negative. And sometimes it's not. It's just very challenging, but it starts with us. If we change the conversation, I believe, to define healthy relationships and be okay, and just be okay with taking care of ourselves, regardless of who we want to be with at the time. And if they don't agree, they don't agree. So. And thanks, Robert, for that. I love that.
You bet. I was noticing in the chat that somebody brought up U equals U, and I was also thinking about that and wondering if you all that have been talking today ever talk to U equals U or undetectable equals untransmittable to your clients.
Right. Is anybody else getting bad weather? I guess that's a connection thing. This wind is terrible. I see U equals U. Sex and injection drug using partners. I'm just in the chat.
Hi. We have many of our babies are older now, and a lot of them are still like, well, I'm not going to have sex because I've got the virus and I don't want to pass it on. And I'm trying to get our ladies to go back to that point in time when they enjoyed sex and with their partner, and allow themselves to open up and get a partner and allow the intimacy to enter back into their lives. But many of them have taken celibacy as a way of life.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't oppose celibacy, but I think a healthy sex life is good for women and men. And I want our babes to get back into that swing of things. Some of them do want to. That makes sense.
Total. There are health benefits to having sex on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And there are there's negative health impacts on your health when you don't have sex on a regular basis. Believe it or not. I had a podcast about it. Everybody's quiet, like, really? Yeah, sex is good for you. Sex is good for everybody. Come on now. Yay, and it's fun when it's done right.
Shelley, can you share the podcast in the chat?
Well, yes, I can. Oh, somebody wants the sex, just the sex one, or all the scenes?
All of them would be wonderful.
Okay, give me a second. There you go. Pull it up for you. Put it in the chat for everybody.
Diana Dupree.
Back, sweetie. Sorry about my phone.
It's interesting that we're talking about the sex talk, and I was at the wonderful Christie's place at their summit this past Saturday, and that did come up among the women where they said, we want to talk about sex. We want to talk about, relationships and pleasure. And so I'm glad that you guys brought that up.
Yeah. I want our babes to go back to, because we're healthy. We're living longer. Well, on HIV meds, we can do things that we couldn't do back in the 80s and early 90s. And one of those things, pardon me?
Oh, sorry. Let me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I put my phone on. My apologies, Diva. My apologies.
It's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. All good information. I just have one more question, and we're almost close to the end. What is one lesson to share to other healthcare and service providers in regards to within your agency? One lesson.
One lesson is don't underestimate the power of peer and social support. I think it's one of the most essential for addressing the emotional needs of our clients.
Great. Anybody else? I believe Denise left.
What was the question again?
What is one lesson to share with other healthcare and service providers with the work you do? One lesson.
One lesson, based on what we do, is that our mind and body are a team. Our team. And if your body's not right, it means there's something going on in your mind. if you will. So how we think, what we believe, how we navigate, how we feel. So we address our CPU, because your brain is our CPU, like a computer. It pretty much runs our body. And then we have some control over it because we have choices that we can make.
Exactly. And that would be, how do we give that information to other, providers? This is what we're about as far as women and men who live with this disease. Anybody else want to comment?
I would like to say that for our agency, it's super important, like, to have the trauma-informed care training. So we do that very often. We actually train other organizations as well. But I think that's one thing that we have to make sure to have it. The trauma-informed care that help us, not only us as workers, but also the community. And self-care, that's super important. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure doing this with everybody. I will pass it on to JB. Is there any more comments?
Yes. Hello. Hi, I'm Nicolette Ibarra from Christie's Place. I'm at Magdalena's computer. And one thing to like a suggestion or experience to share with other providers is not to let yourself get too discouraged when clients don't always are too involved. That's been my experience. But then afterwards they seek me out and ask for some kind of support, and I'm happy to cultivate that connection to keep it going. Maybe they won't always respond, but I think what's important is to the basic importance is that the connection remains. So not to get discouraged when things don't always go as you plan them, perhaps. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you once again to Sylvia, to all of our panelists, and to all of our attendees for coming to this session. There was a lot of really great information, and I'm really glad we were able to share everything with y'all and share and learn together. So if you want to learn more and get some more tools to take with you specific to women living with HIV over 50, I made a women's health resource bank that's going to be available on our website. I will drop the link in the chat as well, and I'll email it out to all of the attendees. There are different sections in there, and we really tried to make this as comprehensive as possible to give you some more information and some more learning moving forward. And just taking another second to say, please fill out our evaluation for this session. It'll be really great to hear your feedback on all the panelists, on the session itself, and what you want to see moving forward for our services. But I would just give another hand to all of our panelists and just say thank you so much for all the work that you do and for all of the things that you shared today. And we really appreciate you. And this was such a good, session, especially for the recent National Women and Girls HIV/AIDS Awareness Day.
Yes.
And have a wonderful rest of your Women's History Month. And thank you again, everyone, for your work. And one last time, please fill out the evaluation. The links are in the chat, and we'll be seeing you all soon.